But again, Dan, Jennifer, and team, thank you guys so much for having me here. My name is Jackson Hugh. I am the Global Channel Director with Expereo. And before I start my presentation, I do have a few questions for the audience here. First of all, so who is currently working on or have worked on international connectivity opportunities in the past? You can just show of hand. Okay, got a few. All right. And for those who have worked on it in the past or currently working on, have you found it to be a challenge as far as sourcing, delivery, quoting? Okay. All of that. All of them use Expereo? Oh, no. So we'll find out that. All right, well, last thing would be, you got me on that one, actually. Now I have to think about how do I come back with that. Okay, so that was my follow-up question. How many of you guys have heard of Expereo or worked with Expereo in the past? No, not too familiar. All right, so I'm not totally surprised. So I'll get my presentation on the way. So hopefully after this, you guys will be familiar with who we are. Now, if this thing wants to work. There you go. All right, so who is Expereo? We're basically, or essentially, the world's largest internet aggregator. As Dan had mentioned, we provide managed internet and SD-WAN connectivity across 200 countries in the world. And there's pretty much nowhere that we don't go or we can't provide service at, except for a few small handful of countries that are U.S. trade embargo countries. Cuba, North Korea come to mind, and I doubt you have any customers looking for connectivity there anytime soon. So basically, we've been around since 2004. That's when the company was founded. We're actually headquartered in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and I have not had a chance to visit yet. But so for the first 10 plus years, our core business has been wholesale, or we call ourselves kind of carrier to the global carrier, your AT&T, Verizon, BT, Orange, NTT, you name it. They are all customers of ours for the longest time. So that's why a lot of agents and customers never heard of Expereo, even though we've been delivering service to all these global companies. And that's because we were kind of the secret weapon to the global carriers. About 3 years ago, we realized that a lot of customers are looking to move away from your traditional carriers and MPLS and looking more for cloud applications, and they need internet connectivity, and they start to approach us. And so we basically decided to bring that capability to the agent community, to start working with all the partners. So we currently work with all the, basically all the master agents, and obviously we're now brought on with TCG, and bring that capability direct to the agent community to service your customers, as opposed to going through to traditional carriers. So some of the things that we do, I would kind of break it down to three core businesses, well, I guess core competencies of our business, and I will obviously cover each one of them as we go forward. But we started with our global managed internet connectivity. That's our core business. And of course, managed SD-WAN. And lastly, expertise. And I'll go into that here in a minute. So as you guys know, I always tell customers, so no CEOs, CTOs, IT directors, CFOs, go to sleep or wake up thinking, I need more internet for my business. I mean, nobody thinks about that, right? Internet is just a commodity for most people. But our business has been booming the past several years for the reason that a lot of business, or most businesses, are looking to either incorporate a hyper-WAN solution or completely moving away from the traditional MPLS to an internet-based solution, because these customers, CTOs, CFOs, you name it, they're always looking for what's the best way to optimize my business, right? Make my business more efficient and optimize my business operations. So cloud application, we heard from Fusion and Valico that customers are moving to all these different cloud applications and solutions, SD-WAN, and those are the drivers that's increasing the need for internet, right, underneath it all. So that's where our bread and butter is, and we've been in the position to complement or replace a lot of existing MPLS customers or networks. Oh, there we go. So here's a map of our regional offices around the world. As I mentioned, we're headquartered Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Our US headquarters is in Reston, and we also have an office in Orlando. So I was basically raised and grew up in Virginia. So I was in our headquarters, and about a couple months ago, I moved to Orlando. So I'm now a Floridian. And so I look forward to meeting some of you guys probably in person or, customer meetings. I'm always happy to attend now that I'm actually local here in Florida. But of course, we have offices all around the world, covering different regions from Buenos Aires in Argentina to Dubai to Singapore in the APAC region. And here is a list of the 200 plus countries that we cover in the world. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of customers ask me, so what's your coverage? Where do you sell service? Usually I tell them, instead of that question, ask me where do I not sell services at, right? As I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's a small handful of countries that obviously are U.S. trade embargo countries. This thing don't want to work. Here you go. All right, so I'm going to get into the services that we cover. We try to keep things very simple and straightforward. Because we understand internet can get pretty complex, especially when you get into international and global coverages. But what we do is trying to keep everything as simple as possible, so it's easy for the agent to sell and for your customer to understand and be able to utilize it instead of doing it themselves. So first thing I'm going to cover is our global internet service. As I mentioned, we're world's largest internet aggregator. What that means is I'm not married to any specific vendor or carrier. If I'm at AT&T, I'm going to sell you AT&T service, AT&T network, AT&T MPLS. As an aggregator, we don't care. We're always going to find the best solution, whether it's the lowest cost or not, depending on what your customer requirements are, but we're going to always find the best solution with the best provider locally to support your customer's requirements. And so AT&T, Verizon, we obviously partner with all the global carriers, over 3,000 vendors around the world that we utilize. And we can deliver broadband, DIA, wireless, 4G, mobile, doesn't matter. Any type of internet technology that's available in a country, we can source it. So when you go out and your customer is looking for global internet requirements, all they have to tell you is what's their location, what's the technology or speed they're looking for, and we're going to source it. They don't have to tell us, hey, please find Colt, please find whoever, China Telecom. Doesn't matter. We will be the one going out there finding the best solutions that's available and be able to deliver the service for you. So what's all included, right? As I mentioned a little bit earlier, we try to keep things very simple for you and for the actual customers. So agnostic options, I think that's very important. Again, when they call AT&T, AT&T's point is going to try to sell you AT&T services on their network. So obviously, being the agnostic, we're always going to look for the best solution possible for your internet service. Everything's fully managed and monitored and supported 24/7. Everything comes with a static IP included and RJ45 Ethernet handoff included as well, regardless of the internet technology, and we deliver that across the world to 100 countries. And US or global, and obviously I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with the US domestic market. There's a lot of carriers that obviously under the TCG umbrella or on the portfolio that you are able to utilize. There's many other aggregators that in the US as well. But when it comes to global, we're pretty much one of the only ones. And everybody else pretty much buy from us as well, outside of their footprint. Total package, and that's really important, right? So these days, customers not just looking for SD-WAN or internet. It's having a single provider who's able to put it all together as a managed service solution, right? And then everything comes in single bill, single contract, single support, single currency. That's huge, right? Because again, when you have 50 sites across 30 countries, now if the customer is shopping themselves, they have 50 different countries they have to deal with, 30 different currencies, right? All those things, we basically take care of all that, so you have single provider and single management. Global support, and then of course, global logistics. The second item that I want to talk about is our SD-WAN. I won't get into the technical aspect of it too much, but just understand SD-WAN is something that most customers are looking for, or already in process of implementing. And that's really one of the things that we're doing quite a bit is manage SD-WAN solution. Okay. There you go. So with Expereo's managed service, again, being an aggregator, we're not a box provider. We don't create our own SD-WAN box or proprietary. We basically partner with multiple different SD-WAN vendors, from Cisco Viptela to Citrix to Ariaka to Silver Peak, and there's more that we're also evaluating to bring on board. And customers always ask us, oh, well, that's great. Instead of only having a one flavor where I call Silver Peak, I can actually present multiple options depending on what the customer is looking to do. And a lot of times you may come across customers say, SD-WAN sounds great. That's the new buzzword, but I don't really understand it. I don't know what brand is the best for me. Come to us. We'll actually decide it for you. We can basically come up with a solution that makes sense for their business. Because every SD-WAN provider seems similar on the surface, but they all different, right? So that's where our expertise comes in and be able to help you and your customer decide what solution makes sense. And we have actually more SD-WAN providers that approach us, want to partner with us. And we're actually very selective as far as who we want to work with because, again, Expereo being a global player, we make sure we select partners that have the capability and assets, obviously, across the world that are able to distribute from that standpoint. If they're just, hey, US only, that's great, but doesn't really help our customer who have global footprint. So that's why the providers that we select, we're pretty selective as far as who we partner with, but that's one of the things that we do. And ultimately, with Expereo's managed SD-WAN, again, there's a lot of provider that does just the network piece. Some does just the hardware piece. Obviously, Expereo is able to bring that connectivity and the hardware all together as a managed solution, so now becomes an OpEx instead of a CapEx for your customers. And here's just a little chart showing the difference between an MPLS, or you get service from a global carrier, from a SD-WAN vendor, or Expereo, who is able to put it all together as a single solution. So you don't have to buy bits and pieces from different providers. And here's just a little glimpse of some of the global customers that we currently service today or deliver service to. Now, most of these names I'm sure you guys will recognize in the different categories and verticals. Most of these customers we currently service through are global carriers. As I mentioned, we've been partnering with them for the past 14 years, so a lot of them, but we're actually getting more and more, like I said, a lot of mid to large global enterprises are going to the gauging community, avoiding the traditional carriers, and so we service some of them directly as well through our agent partners. And the third item on the service category that we cover is what we call Expereo expertise. So it's great you can deliver internet. That's great you can do SD-WAN hardware. But if my customer needs help with feet on the street, professional services, I need rack and stack, cabling, wiring, who do I go to? Expereo. Again, because we have over 3,000 vendors that we partner with across 200 countries, we can help your customer deliver any type of local feet on the street type of services that you need. Again, a lot of times customers say, hey, I ordered your internet, that's great, but I need somebody to go in my data center and do these, professional services, rack and stack, or can you extend DMARC for me in my office building? We can do that as well, as we have partners that we can utilize as well for you. So those are the three main core business that we do, and here's a little bit to kind of show you our provisioning process, right? So it's really important to be able to quote and get a quote quickly to your customer, but once they order, what happens? This is where the magic really happens and where our value comes in, is that, again, instead of you chasing or the customer have to chase multiple carriers with different languages and all these other stuff, you call one number, one Expereo, and we handle, whether it's one site, 10 sites, or 1,000 sites around the world, doesn't matter. We have teams all around the world that covers all of that for you from a provisioning standpoint. Very, very important. We have dedicated provisioning team and manager assigned to each order, and each provision manager will send you weekly updates and everything all through a single provider as well, all the way till delivery. And this is the last slide. Support, obviously very, very important. Once a customer is sold, service delivered, then what, right? Obviously, it's your reputation because you introduced Expereo. It's our reputation because we want to make sure your customer is happy. So we have a 24/7 NOC, 5 NOCs around the world, follow the sun operation. So there's always somebody on the phone able to assist your customer if they ever have any type of issues. Everything we do is proactively monitored and supported on all circuits. So if there's ever issues, we'll probably notify you and your customers before they even notice. So that's part of the value that we provide. Each customer, once they sign up, they also get a customer portal and a monitoring portal. So that's 2 different portals that they can log in. One, actually be able to track their inventories of circuits that they have with us, open trouble tickets, and view their status of the circuit delivery process right now. Have you guys seen like the Domino pizza? Now they show you where your pizza is. They're making it, they're delivering it, boom, it's at your door. Well, it's kind of similar to that in a way. With the portal, you can actually see what's going on with your circuit, basically. So instead of getting not just the weekly updates from email from our provisioning manager, they can also track that directly as well in the system. Another portal they have is called the monitoring portal, which they can utilize to view if you have engineers or a NOC team, they want to view the health of the circuit. They're open for them to utilize as well, and all these portals are free to your customers. Proactive support, as I mentioned, and then most important, right? Our NOCs are around the world, speak up to 50 different languages locally, but they all speak English, and they're all all Expereo employees. They're not outsourced to some third-party company. It's all Expereo employees, and so your customer have one number to call and somebody to support them throughout the process. Now, so what does it all mean to you? This all sounds great and sounds cool, but what does it mean to your customer, right, at the end of the day? And that's most important is that it's not so difficult to find aggregators or source internet in the US or SD-WAN, but it becomes a huge challenge, as most of you guys who have quoted internationally before, it's a huge challenge globally, especially when the customer has multiple locations. And that's where Expereo really comes in, again, being the single provider, single source, right? Bill, invoice, currency, you name it, support. You go to one provider, we take care of it all. And we're the expertise. We're experts. So we're not going to try to push you towards one product or one vendor because we're agnostic. And that's really important to your customer. And more importantly, what does it mean to you guys, right? As an agent, you want to make money. And so let's take, for example, a 100 meg circuit in the US, typically what, range $700, $800 on net, maybe off net, $1,200 maybe. With a single circuit in, let's say, UAE, it's 100 megs, probably well over $10,000. And that's what customers pay. And that's normal. Now, for a US-based company, they'll be, oh, wow, $10,000 for a circuit, that sounds crazy. Well, you know what? They actually pay for it because that's just the rate in those countries, right? In China, 100 meg circuit, $3,000, $5,000, easy, right? Huh? No, like $3,000 to $5,000 easy, yeah. I'm currently quoting a circuit. It's pretty large. It's like 3 gig or 5 gig customers looking in the Bahamas, roughly about $100,000. And they're gonna ready to pay. They're, well, hopefully, fingers crossed, they're gonna sign soon. But, but customers have the needs, right? And we can deliver. And so here you're selling, whether it's broadband or DIA in the US, and that's great, you need that volume. But if you want big projects, and I'm not talking about these are like McDonald's or Fortune 1000. There's a lot of Fortune 5000 or 10,000 companies that have maybe 10 sites, 15 sites, right? Not very big company, mid-sized enterprises that needs these type of connectivity all over the world. And so you can have the opportunity to sell a circuit. Instead of selling 10 DIAs here, you sell one, and that's it, right? And hit your bonuses or whatever it is and be able to make some serious commission. So serious commission. You know, $10,000 circuit is not uncommon. You know, $3,000 to $5,000 is pretty average, right? So depending on where in the world. Another thing I like to kind of mention is that obviously you utilize TCG, utilize Expereo to get quotes for your customers. But that's things that you're already working on. Utilize us to open doors for you because now you can go to your customer and say, hey, not only I'm an expert in the domestic market, I have partners who can open the door for you globally. So what's your requirement? for all your offices around the world. If you're not asking that question today, you absolutely should, right? And if you're not looking for opportunities or customers that have global offices, you should be asking those questions because they are all struggling. If they're struggling domestically, they'll struggle tenfold internationally, just because it's that much more. It's very difficult for them to source and manage themselves. And those are, obviously the value that we bring to the table and be able to help your customer resolve a lot of those pain. And a lot of times, customers don't really understand. They compare bills, say, okay, well, I can buy a circuit locally at this price, and you're at this price, so you're a little higher. Sure, but we're a managed service provider. We provide a value. A lot of times customers don't understand is how much does it cost me to put my own people, my own management, my own IT team to manage these circuits locally? How do I communicate? How do I support it? Now, like I always tell customers, you outsource your HR, you outsource your IT, you outsource all these different things. Why don't you outsource your network? So we take care of it all for you, and you don't have to ever worry about it. So they can focus on their business, let us worry about the network. So that's pretty much my presentation. One of the things I also want to share with you, I don't know if Jen has shared with everybody yet, because I know there's a President's Club obviously coming out for next year. So Expereo is going to be a sponsor as one of the sponsors for the President's Club. We're selecting 2 top agents that are selling. The number might shock you a little bit, right? 70,000 new revenue or higher, okay? For most of you guys will be like, holy crap, that's a lot, right? Most carriers don't ask for that kind of stuff. But when you start thinking about, we sell global circuits in multi-location, SD-WAN, you can hit 70,000 in one shot. So that's not actually as difficult as it seems, right? For when you start talking about the type of business that you can go after. And it's not, again, not the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, because a lot of customers are looking for SD-WAN globally. SD-WAN means most of them need dual circuits, whether it's dual DIA, or a DIA plus broadband or whatever it may be. We can support all that. And again, that's one of the things that, you go to an AT&T, you get a AT&T circuit. Now, if you want a diversity, they're probably not going to sell you a Verizon, right? You have to go find a secondary circuit. We don't. We're an aggregator. We don't care. We can find you 10 different carriers available. I don't care. So I can find you diversity all day long, and through different technologies and different carriers. So those are really important. And again, at the end of the day, like I said, I want to leave it with you guys is, you can make a lot of money just incorporating some international opportunities into your portfolio. If you're not doing it today, you definitely should look at it, and we can help as well. So reach out to me. I'm happy to show you where to find those businesses, what verticals are really it's going to be a benefit to you guys, because we work with all sorts of different companies. And I can tell you guys, one of the things I share with everybody is the more difficult the vertical or the type of sites they are, the better, right? Getting a circuit in London, UK is not that difficult. Most carriers can quote that. If you want a circuit to a mining company in the middle of nowhere in Indonesia, none of them can do it. Who do they call? They call me. They call Expereo. So we can do that for you. And those type of circuits typically means huge money, but they need it. And not a lot of options out there. So those kind of things, we can certainly help you guys out. So, I left some brochure and my business card. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'm here to assist. So.
Jackson, how are you finding that, you've got, everyone in this room has a base of US-based customers. How are you dipping into that international? How are you opening that door? You just saying, hey, do you have any locations internationally how you doing it?
Sure, I would say the first step is certainly, if it's already your customer, you probably have an idea what they have as far as offices goes, right? Or having through your conversation, hey, are you guys doing cloud applications? Are you doing SD-WAN? Do you have offices outside of Florida or US, right? If they have international sites, I don't care if it's 1 site, 10 sites, 100 sites, more sites the better, because more sites means more pain, right? Getting 1 site, they can call the local customer, local carrier, not as difficult. When they have 10, 15, 20, 100 sites, that become a huge pain to manage, and that's really where our bread and butter comes in and be able to single manage. So yeah, just having that conversation, because a lot of times if you don't ask, the customer just assumes you don't have that capability because you focus on US, maybe that's all you're going to focus on, and they call somebody else for international. If you just simply ask that question and let them know you have a partner, bring me in and we'll close the deal for you. So open to questions.
What's the biggest deal you've closed in?
Me personally? It's kind of a hard one because we work with some pretty large RFPs with global carriers. So with agents right now, the opportunities are still a little bit smaller, but obviously with AT&T and BT of the world, I mean, P&G is one of the huge opportunities. You probably bill with them hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s a month. But we're actually working on some pretty large RFPs as well right now through our agent community, not just myself, but the team. And the reason is we see a lot of global enterprises, mid and large, are moving away again from the traditional carriers. They used to call BT, used to call AT&T. A lot of them even knew Expereo is behind it. They're new. But they always have to go through the global carrier for various different reasons. Now, a lot of them, you know what? Sure, I can do my voice and my MPLS, my security, other stuff through the BT of the world, whatever. But you know what? Internet aggregation, I'm going to go straight to the source and go straight to the expert who knows what they're doing, and that's us. Think about going through the AT&T process, BT process, Orange, you name it. These are huge carriers, and they are provisioning their process ridiculous. One of the carriers I support, I'm not going to name, but you know, they're just to get a signed contract from the customer to them delivering the PO to us take over a month. Think about that. Over a month just to even go through their internal process. That means your customer is waiting over a month thinking, hey, I just signed something, where's my order? And a month later, we finally get an order to start. So it's crazy, right? And that's not abnormal for these global carriers. We don't have that problem. So
internationally, what I've been hearing a lot is a lot of the customers internationally is more popular as a BIA instead of broadband, DSL, cable, and
So I would say,
due to the cost and all that.
I would say both. So there's, broadband is getting more popular because of SD-WAN. Actually, a lot of customers do ask for broadband internationally, but here's the big difference. With the US market, we're very lucky. We have a lot of different carrier options, technology options. We have, you know, coaxial cable, we have DSL, we have FTTX, right? Fiber-based broadband, your UVerse, your Verizon Fios, that kind of thing for broadband. And obviously, we have DIA and various different carriers. When you go out internationally, that's not how it works. A lot of countries don't have broadband. A lot of countries only have DSL. So they don't have the type of technology that we may be used to here in the US. So they do have to look at DIA. But I would say a lot of countries are starting to come up with more and more fiber-based broadband. So that's a great option for a customer looking for a backup to an MPLS, or maybe doing SD-WAN, they want a primary DIA and a backup broadband. Those are certainly options. But instead of yourself or your customer trying to figure out what technology, what service should I even look at because they don't know, come to us. We know. We have all the answer. We're the expert when it comes to international connectivity. We will make those suggestions and let you know what's available or not. So.
You guys also do phone systems?
No. So that's a great question. So it's kind of interesting. I like to say we're the expert in what we do and we're the best at what we do. So we do internet, and manage internet, manage SD-WAN if you're on the street. We don't do voice. We don't do MPLS. That's just not who we are, and we probably will never get into that. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of provider that has various different services under their umbrella, but we like to keep, you know, just focus on what we do really well.
As far as SLAs go, I'm sure that's very area country specific. Would you say that that's limited to very few countries, or I guess that depends on the type of connectivity that we're looking at?
Great question. So that's, and I'm glad you asked that question. So that's what separates us from a lot of other carriers or providers. You're absolutely right. A lot of providers locally, internationally, they don't offer SLA. We actually do. So for DIA services, we have our SLA by product and country. Depending on what it is, we offer our SLA. So that means even if our local provider don't, we will still back it up with our own SLA, credit-based. Now, broadband, it's all best effort. The same thing globally. Doesn't matter where you are. It is best effort, so no, there's no SLA guarantee, but there's SLA targets, and we share that with you in every quote that we send out. I will share it with you, our SLA guarantee for DIA and then targets. So for time to repair, you know, availability, that sort of things. Yep. Any other questions? All right. Well, you guys have my information. Feel free to give me a call anytime, or shoot me an email. I'm here, always here to assist. So thank you guys very much for your time, and hopefully I'll hear from some of you guys. Thanks.